Welcome to the Phoenix Church Museum. The Phoenix Church was known as the Church of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary before it became an historical museum. It is located near the intersection of M26 and US 41 in Phoenix. During the 20th century, the church served parishioners from Houghton Township communities including Phoenix, Eagle River to the north, Central Mine to the northeast, Phoenix Farms to the south, and Cliff Mine to the southwest. This video covers the church's history, physical surroundings, and the parishioners in the mid-20th century. The video ends with wedding movies from more than 80 years ago. The Church Museum still hosts an annual Mass, memorial services, weddings, and special events. The original church structure was built near the Cliff Mine, 2 miles southwest of its current location. Bishop Barriga consecrated the church as St. Mary's in 1859. This is St. Mary's at the Cliff in 1899, just before it was moved to Phoenix. These photos show the church at its new location in the early years of the 20th century. Several nearby landmarks that are still visible today are the Phoenix Mine, the Robbins Shaft Mine, the Phoenix Store, the Keweenaw Central Railroad tracks, and bridge. The Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church had neighbors on the east, the Phoenix Elementary School and the Methodist Episcopal Church. The elementary school opened in 1902 and closed in 1938. The Methodist Episcopal Church closed around 1910 and was torn down in 1930. Its lumber was used to build the tabernacle at the new Bible camp in Eagle River. In 1900, church parishioners primarily came from communities close to the Phoenix and nearby mines. This photo taken from the Phoenix Mine rock pile shows the community close to the church. A photo from the Robbins Shaft Mine a half-mile west gives a wider view of the Phoenix community, including the St. Clair Mine east of the church. The heydays of the mines in northern Keweenaw County ended in the early years of the 20th century. People moved south to work in the newer mines of Houghton County. The enrollment at the Phoenix Elementary School dropped from 150 students in 1902 to 12 students in 1920. The mine buildings aged quickly. Compare the Phoenix Mine's rock pile buildings in its heyday to 1934 when it closed. Alden Steck started taking 8mm home movies in 1939. He used his camera to record family activities and to capture landscape features that he would later include in his paintings. It was quite difficult to take moving pictures back then because cameras had limited capabilities. They had no sound, no auto exposure, and no autofocus. The camera was powered by a coiled spring. Scenes were brief because one roll of film could only capture 2 minutes of action. Since Alden's movies did not capture everything needed for this video, some of his paintings are used to augment some scenes. For example, this is the best photo I could find of the old M26 bridge near the church. Alden filmed some important footage from that bridge. His painting gives you a better sense of the size and structure of the church side of that bridge. Some scenes featuring people are included in the video to show the landmarks in the background. The church side of that M26 bridge can be seen behind the parishioners gathered in front of the Phoenix Church. Next is an example of a movie taken in preparation for creating a painting. This is the only film Alden took of the church structure. I believe he used it to record the steeple details for the painting in this exhibit. In 1940, the population in Houghton Township was 250, with 160 in Phoenix. Today, the township has about 80 permanent residents, with less than 10 in Phoenix. In the mid-20th century, many former residents returned to their Keweenaw homes or cabins for the summer. Seasonal Sunday masses and special services were regularly offered at the Phoenix Church into the 1950s by the Franciscan Fathers from Calumet. One of the longtime church parishioners was Alden's mother, Eliza Jane Daly Steck. She was born in Phoenix in 1872. The Steck family built a summer cottage in Eagle River near the Daly family home. Here she is pictured with Alden's fiancée, Pauline Pichettino, in the Steck family's Eagle River yard as they prepare to go to church. Here are scenes of parishioners gathering for and leaving Mass in 1940. Here are more scenes of parishioners going to the church in the 1940s. Alden took these movies from the location on US 41 marked by the white and black triangle. The camera captures a vehicle pulling out from the store going northeast towards the church. Turning the camera around, you see the cliffs, Robbins Mine rock pile, and 3 people in the lower part of the frame walking towards church. Alden painted 2 panoramic landscapes of Phoenix from a low hill south of the church. The first one features the Phoenix mine and miners' houses. The second painting features the church and east branch of the Eagle River. These movies show the Phoenix mine buildings taken from the churchyard. You can see the mine rock pile, a dam, and other associated buildings. The dam was part of a Keweenaw Central Railroad bridge just west of the church. The reservoir was built for fire suppression. Alden took these scenes of the railroad, bridge, and dam from the old M26 bridge in 1942. The painting shows the river and the upstream side of the old M26 bridge. The dam has 2 spillways. 2 men are standing on the railroad tracks over the north spillway. This is the south spillway, and water is flowing freely in late winter and early spring. But on Easter Sunday, 1942, rainfall and snowmelt threatened the railroad bridge and dam. Local residents tried to save the railroad structure. A crowd gathered to watch the flood. The waters filled the M26 bridge underpass. The dam eventually gave way and it was washed downstream. The old M26 bridge survived. The railroad bridge was never replaced. Now, more than 80 years later, little evidence remains except some cribbing and the washed-out dam basin. This footage was taken from the new M26 bridge, which is just upstream from the old M26 bridge. This is a typical Phoenix house near the church in the 40s. It was heated with wood, had little indoor plumbing, but several accessory buildings. This house was just across the west branch of the Eagle River from the Phoenix store. You can see the Baumert house and blacksmith shop in the distance in this clip. They are north of the church on M26 along the Eagle River. The blacksmith shop is now a Keweenaw Historical Heritage Site. This scene shows the houses southwest of the store, along the road going up to Phoenix Farms. 2 miles south of Phoenix is a small area of relatively flat land where the topsoil was thick enough to farm. In the early 20th century, several family farms produced fruit, poultry, potatoes, and hay. By 1940, the only people who listed their occupations as farmers were Gus Manistow and Peter Hepting. Peter's brother John Hepting and his wife Louisa had been farmers and still lived in their home, shown here in Alden's drawing. This is the Heptings' farmyard. You can see other farmhouses, animal barns, apple orchards, and a sturdy fence. At the time of this filming, Pauline and Alden were engaged to be married the next spring in the Phoenix church. Louisa was Alden's aunt. She was born in 1876 in Central, a year after the Steck family came to the U.S. Our family often visited the Hepting farm when we were spending the summer in Eagle River. John Hepting had been the sheriff of Keweenaw County during the 1913 Copper Country strike. He was the Houghton Township supervisor in 1939 when the township built the Eagle River water distribution system. The Heptings produced apples, chickens, and turkeys. In 1949, Louisa and John had their 50th anniversary. Old neighbors from the farms and several generations of the Hepting and Steck families gathered to celebrate. That's Peter Hepting on the left and Louisa's siblings on the right. And that's me on my Uncle Francis's knee. Central Mine is 5 miles northeast of Phoenix. Central was a large and flourishing community with a productive and profitable mine until the late 19th century. At one time, Central had 1,200 residents. This photo from 1921 shows the extensive housing and mining structures that remained more than 20 years after the mine closed. The iconic Central Methodist Episcopal Church is visible in the lower right corner. Alden's watercolor shows the church in the mid-20th century. In 1940, Central had 1 resident, and that's still. The Keweenaw County Historical Society has a number of homes in Central open to the public, including this one on the Central Eagle Harbor Road. This panorama of Central was taken from the south, looking uphill towards the town. The scene ends at the rock pile and stamp mill sand dump. Eagle River started as the port of entry for early explorers and later for mining companies in 1843. By 1900, the lakeshore had warehouses, hotels, stores, and residences. But by the mid-20th century, the town had fewer structures and only 88 residents. The lakeshore had a commercial fishing village. This 1939 clip shows the fishermen's houses. The large racks were used to dry their nets. As the camera pans across the town from the river mouth, up on the plateau you can see the school, courthouse, and sheriff's building. Alden stood in the lake to take this panorama of the fishing village and lakeshore. There were fewer buildings on the beach near the river mouth than earlier because a 1931 November gale drove water about 200 feet inland and washed away structures including Koitala's fishing shack. Here is Alden's painting of a fisherman's house on the Eagle River beach. These views of Eagle River were taken uphill from the beach. Main Street with the general store and historic homes, and Pine Street from M26. The Fuse Factory Dam and Falls are popular places in Eagle River. In early spring 1942, the water was flowing over the central part of the spillway and gushing from the flood relief culvert in the dam face. The red tower on the left was used to power the fuse factory. In late spring 1942, the falls were in flood. This clip was taken the same day the Phoenix Dam burst. The Red Tower did not survive this torrent. In the mid-20th century, the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church hosted special events like weddings. Pauline Pichettino and Alden Steck were married on June 25, 1941, in the church. Pauline's pastor, Father Hermafidali from St. Mary's in Calumet, performed the ceremony. The wedding was well attended, as you can see from the multitudes exiting from the church. People gathered in the churchyard to congratulate the couple. The Phoenix Mine and store can be seen in the background. After the informal gathering in the churchyard, a reception was held at the Steck family home in Eagle River. Pauline's dress was hand-sewn by her aunt Nina Grandati. That dress, which is part of this exhibit, is an empire-waisted gown in floral printed satin. The form-fitting dress has a long train and is fully lined. Here is the new family about 15 years after the wedding. Alden created this watercolor to commemorate their wedding. Pauline kept Alden's painting with her until she died 75 years after their marriage. Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoy the exhibit.